If those are the biggest challenges facing those trying to use the methodologies, what are the biggest challenges facing companies like yours that are providing solutions to the industry?
Well, the biggest challenge to us is the number of companies that are all of a sudden doing Six Sigma, and how does a company choose to do that. Our goal has always been to make the client successful, to make the company successful, because if they're not reporting earnings per share out of Six Sigma or dollars to the bottom line, they won't be a very good reference for us. So our biggest challenge is to make darn sure that all of our clients are wildly successful with this thing, so that when people call them up, they say, these guys are the only place to go. And we're getting very close to that.
Now, you've touched upon this a little bit, but what industries are currently utilizing this Six Sigma approach today?
Well, it's heavily found in the manufacturing arena, especially the widget world, and the chemical world is really coming on board now. Most of the major chemical companies, Dow, DuPont, W.R. Grace, Celanese, are doing Six Sigma, and that's historically been where most of it's done. But now a lot of the larger financial groups are coming on board. I think GE broke some real ground by applying Six Sigma to GE Capital and giving permission for these companies to look at that as a methodology. Though I would say, while there's some huge success stories, they're still very tentative about moving forward. They still don't quite see how it fits.
Yeah.
Steve, what questions do you think that clients should ask potential providers of Six Sigma consulting services?
Well, our stance has always been, if you please take the time to talk to some of our customers. Because I think that's where you really find out what a consulting company is all about. Number one, do they have references? And number two, are the references wildly excited about the company? And if our competitors are making their clients successful, then it's not an issue of who they choose. But it's the best way to find out if they're going to be successful is if this company has made a lot of other companies about their size and nature successful as well.
Now, Steve, how is technology integrated into this process?
Well, technology is a very key player in this, especially in the manufacturing arena when you come down to process control, especially in the chemical arenas, but also in the service industry where you have to have a technical solution sometimes, some sort of software to support the goals. And I think one insurance company, and in fact my son works there as a black belt, the CEO has made a very simple but I think astute statement. He said, for every one of our processes we need to simplify, standardize, and automate. And really in the transactional arena that would be the roadmap. And that automate piece is very important to understand the requirements of the system and understand the requirements of the process and how it's going to impact the customer. So technology and driving Six Sigma into technology groups probably will be the biggest strategic thing to happen in Six Sigma over the next 3 years.
Yeah. Steve, one of the things that we've discovered is that Six Sigma really works well when you get your customer involved in the process. I know GE Aircraft, for example, is using their Six Sigma skills to help their customers with their engine problems to the tune that their customers are saving $200 million, as well as GE saving $200 million. How do you facilitate that communication? How do you get that communication going between those interested parties?
Well, basically you go out and talk to them. In our Design for Six Sigma course, for example, the whole first week is nothing but tools that gets their people in front of their customers and get the right information very quickly in the form of focus groups, structured interviews, and a lot of analysis like that. I think the term customer focus is probably an overused and not well understood concept. Most companies think that they're customer focused when they respond quickly to customer complaints, when in reality customer focus is eliminating those complaints. So you'll see in Six Sigma that the more tightly knit the customer and the supplier are, the better it is. And also, after a client gets into Six Sigma for about a year and a half, they now have a core competency in Six Sigma that they can take to the marketplace and market as a service in addition to their products.
Now, what area do you see as having the greatest need for a Six Sigma type solution?
Well, I think the service industry is ripe for it,
Yeah.
and I can't help but to think that the healthcare industry is at the top of that. And I've been to a couple of conferences where the healthcare people are getting into Six Sigma and getting on board, though I think that there's still so much more benefit than they're getting. But when you look at our economy, it's a service economy, and the better we get at that, the better off everybody's going to be.
Well, Steve, you talked a little bit earlier about that you've worked with companies as small as 10 million. Is that sort of the minimum? I mean, we know that it works well in the large companies. You know, what's really the minimum, and what's sort of the optimum size?
Well, I would say that a company any size would benefit from Six Sigma. And a very small company, say 3 to 5 people, they still have their business processes. And I would say that when they're starting up, their biggest roadblock is that their business processes aren't up to where it needs to be, or they haven't been able to anticipate that if they grow, where their business process needs to be. So I hate to say that Six Sigma is good for everybody, but in this case, if you have a business, you have customers, and you have business processes, you're probably ripe for a good time with Six Sigma.
Yeah. Are there reasonable limitations to Six Sigma? What should a company expect here?
Well, I think a lot of companies that do Six Sigma they have a Six Sigma hammer and everything becomes a Six Sigma nail, and that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes a new piece of software will solve the problem, so you don't need Six Sigma to put the software in. You just put the software in. So I would say problems that are chronic, that are complex, and that have been bugging the company for years are absolutely ripe for Six Sigma. Simple projects, simple problems with obvious solutions, don't use Six Sigma. Just solve the problem.
Very good. Now, we've reached that point where we normally ask our guests to give our viewers a prediction of what he or she sees coming down the road in the near term, the next year or two. What's your prediction, Steve?
Well, based on what's happened, where Six Sigma started primarily in manufacturing, and now more than half of our work is done in design for Six Sigma, which is really good news because that addresses growth. But I think where the next big step is going to be, you're going to see the service industry get on board a lot more. You will see a nice integration between lean methodology and Six Sigma, an integration, not a separateness. And also, I think some of the most exciting work that we've done is applying Six Sigma to software development. And everywhere we look, we're tied into software. We had our picture taken with a small camera, and there's a huge amount of software in there. And to get that whole core competency of this country up to speed on how to get new software out quick and that works without any bugs, and I guess Microsoft would like to get a little bit of that sometimes, that's going to be a huge opportunity, and I think it's going to be a big market over the next 3 to 5 years.
Dan, what is your prediction?
Well, unlike other quality initiatives that sort of became the quality program du jour, Six Sigma has started much slower. We haven't seen the rush to it that we saw. It's been building very slowly. I think that's a good indicator because sometimes things that are very powerful take a little bit of understanding and application. The other good side of this is that we haven't seen a rush away from it. Again, Six Sigma is becoming entrenched in many corporations like GE and Honeywell and others that are really understanding that this is a fundamental shift in the way you do business. And accordingly, I think we're going to see this continue to grow at a good, steady, solid pace. I think there's a lot of opportunity in Six Sigma because it is proving out to give results. And with that, it gives people real tangible benefits. I mean, it can be tracked to earnings per share, and that's important.
Very good. Now, unfortunately, we've again reached that time where we have to conclude this very, very interesting and important subject. So I'd like to take this opportunity, Steve, to thank you for your remarkably well derived presentations today.
Well, thank you, and I really enjoyed it.
And as always, Dan, we're indebted to you for your contributions as well.
Thanks, Al.
And thank you for watching. Until next time, for World Business Review, I'm Alexander Haig.